right? So I guess kind of touch on what you spoke about the rule of 72, right? Understanding the power of compound interest,
Hmm.
right? 'Cause oftentimes when we speak about interest, we think about it on the opposite end when we owe somebody else some money and we have to pay that money back with interest. But what about having interest that works to your advantage? Understanding that looking at the rate of inflation versus interest rates. Like if you just put your money in a savings account and looking at how much money you're earning on that savings account, you're kind of falling behind the eight ball.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm talking with my brother Kerwyn Phillips, and we're going to be talking about financial literacy, in particular about our youth. It's a subject that we both are very passionate about. In fact, we've actually worked together on many occasions around educating our youth financially. So I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with my boy, Mr. the Doctor himself, Kerwyn Phillip, man. This is a good brother of mine. I love him. We have done got a chance to work together a few things. He actually has a book that's catered to, the youth around financial literacy, Malik First Job. I'll let him tell a little bit more about that, as well as I got a chance to work with him around the Youth Business Exchange here in our city, where he's one half of the co-lead for that initiative. So welcome to the show, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no doubt, man. You listen, you had me on your show. It is only right
Right.
to come back full circle and talk to the man himself. So, but yeah,
Right.
man, I'm
It's
super
all good.
excited, man. Tell the people a little bit about you and how you got started with just youth entrepreneurship and youth, finances.
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Kerwyn Phillip. I'm author of the book Malik's First Job: Financial Principles for Teens. Wrote this book several years ago. Not well, yeah, a couple years ago. I was working with young people doing workshops like at the library and the schools centered around financial literacy. Originally, it started off doing like hip hop workshops because I'm a big hip hop head and was doing a lot of stuff centered around the history and the origins of the hip hop culture. And it kind of transitioned into me doing some financial stuff. And I was using other people's books. I was using like The Richest Man in Babylon, Rich Dad Poor Dad as the basis for the workshops. And I found that the young people who I was working with had a hard time connecting with the content. I'm sure you read like The Richest Man in Babylon before, correct? And within the book, a lot of the names are hard to pronounce. The setting they really could identify with, ancient Babylon and things of that sort. So then I said, how can I take the same information and package it in a way that our kids will want to embrace it and kind of engage with it? So I said, I could take the information, kind of package it in a way that's relatable to them. So the book itself, Malik's First Job, is about a young man in Brownsville, Brooklyn, going to a local business owner to get a job, going on his first job interview, and then it's a sneaker store, right? I know our kids are into sneakers. The name Malik, everybody knows a kid named Malik, right? So again, it's something they can relate to. And again, he's going on his first job interview. And then later on, after he gets the job, he wants to sit down with his father and learn how to manage his money. So it's a great book to get our kids started on the path of financial literacy, just planting some seeds, just to kind of get them started, not making it too complex for them.
Right, right. No, doubt, and
Yeah.
that's key. Something that you said, because I know for me with finances, the same thing.
Mhm.
Like when you start reading it, you can't really understand. Like, why are the words so complex, right? And
Right,
with the words are complex, it creates a barrier, and that was one of the things that led
right,
me to start, getting into finances and stuff like that too, man.
right,
But that's huge, man. So like one of the things that I know a lot of people, or some of the questions I get, which I'm sure you probably get too, is like
hmm
you hear about financial literacy, especially for like kids and things like that. But a lot of people
right,
struggle with like, well, where do I start? Because most people may not be adapt to it themselves. Like, so what are
right.
some ways or what do you think some good tips like for like a parent, like where what do you start or what could you do to start to just be able to start to invest in your kids in that way to start the thinking around financial literacy.
Yeah, so I'll say like for parents, but again, a lot of us when we were coming up, we didn't get this information,
Right.
so we had to kind of learn on our own. And I think right now, the day and time that we're in, being the information age, we have information at our fingertips. We have cell phones, computers, and everything else like that. And so you can, parents can educate themselves first, and not just do it isolated, but do it as a family. Maybe tune into some YouTube videos or some other educational programs where the whole family sits down and kind of gets the basics of the of financial education. And another way we can kind of get started as well is, let's say if your child is receiving an allowance, however you want to allocate it, kind of like break it up. So, okay, well, I'm gonna give you $20 a week, right, for an allowance. But out of that 20, you got to say you put $5 to the side and save it, and help the child track that, and just kind of create that habit. I think the most important is to create the habit and create the mindset, because then, as they progress and get older, they'll be automatically planning in their minds that, okay, anytime I get some money, I don't spend all of it, take a certain portion, and then put it to the side and save it. I think paying yourself first is like one of the key elements of financial literacy to really get ahead, really get a good grasp of
Right.
things.
No, I agree with you, man. Like, sometimes we overthink it. Like one of
Yeah.
the things that, and I mean, me and my wife talk about this a lot, right? Like,
Hmm.
growing up, we grew up on the notion of do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
But we know we grow up doing what we seen happen. So,
Right.
so like as a
Right.
parent, you want to also, just like you saying, I encourage people the same way to like get in there together, right? Like
Hmm.
let it be a family experience, right?
Right.
Even when you're planning trips or you're doing anything, you're buying stuff, whatever the case is, like allow it to be a whole experience where the kids get to see you doing these things and the language
Right.
is familiar. Like for example, like my oldest son, he's on 13, so
Hmm.
we still got some ways to go. But he has like his own account, right? For example,
Hmm.
and it's something subtle, but like for church, for example, he paid his tithes from like money he got from his birthday, right? So it's
Right.
like it's something simple, something small, but that's
Right.
a money management principle in itself, right? For example.
Hmm.
And so we try to do little things like that. Like I try to let them not spend their money too much, but sometimes
Hmm.
spend money, but try to have those constant conversations around it. And like one of the things that we was talking about before we started recording was like, technology and stuff like that. And I utilize stuff like that. And sometimes it's
Right.
built into games. Like I'm on Roblox with my kids or whatnot. And there's
Hmm.
some financial aspects in that. Like if you're trying to buy stuff or whatnot. And I'll use different things like that with them to like have conversations and things like that, like based off
Right.
of their ages. Like what I'll do is I'll actually, because you can't have the same conversation with, depending on the age as someone older or whatnot. But those
Right.
are things I do. Like what's some examples that you've used with your kids? I know your kids are older, so
Yeah. Yeah. I know, like when my oldest son, when he got his first job, he was working for the Mayor's Youth Academy, and I guess we had a conversation when he first got this position. I was like, I understand, you like, I think you like around 13, 14. I said, I know you're working, but this is what I want you to do. I say, you take 10% of what you earn and let me hold on to it. At the time, I wanted to get started with investing, right? But at the time, we did, like, all the apps that exist right now didn't exist, and I had the goal of helping him invest, but didn't know where to get started. So I just held on to the money for him. He worked for the summer, and I think by the end of the summer, um, I told him, I said, you give me 10%. I don't care what you do with the rest of the money. You can spend it, do whatever. Just let me hold a portion of it. And of course, initially it was some pushback, but then, he went ahead and said, you let me do it, right? So then end of the summer, I think he may have had like $300 or $400 that I held on to him for him, right? And I never got around to investing it. But then what happened, it came like around Christmas time, and he needed some money for something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And he said, Dad, you think I could borrow some? I say, well, you still got about $400 that you had from the summer. He was like, for real? Because he forgot about it, you know. And I told him, I said, now you see, now if I had let you keep the money, you'd have spent it all and not have anything. But you learn to save, Now this is like 3, 4 months later. You still have some money that you can fall back on, that you can reach out for to help you buy what you want to buy. And I think you kind of learn a lesson from that. And I did the same thing with my daughter. At the time, my daughter, she was a little bit older when she got her job. So what I did with her was just tell her, like when she set up her checking account, was
Hmm.
to have the checking account and the savings. And I said, look, when you do your direct deposit, have a certain portion go into your checking account and put a certain amount in your savings account, right? That way it's done automatically. You don't have to think about it, you
Right.
know. And that way, she learned, and she saw, as she saw that her savings grow, it kind of motivated her to keep on saving, because
Hmm.
when you see it start stacking up, it's like, okay, now I see, in case things happen. And then, like, recently she had a issue with a car, and she said, you know what, I don't even have to ask you for any money, Dad. I got my own money to go get my car fixed.
Right.
I said,
Right.
okay, so okay, cool.
Right.
So you just try to do little things here and there to kind of help them
Right.
look at things. And then also I got them investing in stocks as well. Like, matter of fact, my youngest son, kids are there into sneakers, Nike, and stuff like that. And him being a shareholder, like early this year, he had a chance to vote for the board members,
Right. Right.
right? They sent the email, and I said, well, I said, you're a shareholder, you own some stock, you have to vote for, who's going to be the board members of the company. It's like, well, I don't even know who these people are. I'm like, I don't know who they are either, but pick
Ownership.
somebody.
Right.
I say, no, because it's a different experience. Like, you're not just the kid who's just buying and purchasing the sneakers. You're making leadership decisions for the company. And again, I just had them sit down and like, oh, whichever name you like, just pick them. I don't know who's who, but just know that you've had some type of input, on the
Hmm.
companies, on the corporate side of it.
Right.
This is something that your friends can't say they've done. So it's just, again, just giving them that experience
Absolutely.
to do to do it on their own.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Like that's it's different. Like I said, when we
Yeah,
grew up, we didn't have all this access to stuff like that. And then
yeah,
some but
exactly.
then to a degree some stuff was hidden. But like with technology, things are so much easier. And I think like what you're saying, like sometimes we overthink it and we think
Hmm.
that, oh well, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Or the most famous one is I gotta be in this position to do it. Like I get
Right,
one of my most, I guess you say much, one of my most viral videos was something it had to do with like just your kids, like not kicking them out the house too fast, allowing them
right,
to save money and and stay, and build it up, right? Not just kick them out
right,
at 18, right? And
right.
a lot of people give pushback around stuff like that because a lot of
Hmm.
people, they're more concerned with, but I need money for bills. I need, and to the degree I understand. But like
Right,
a lot of times people don't think about the fact of like just how it's not that you have to necessarily, you know, just be zero in, zero out. Like whatever you make, and then you just give it all. Like you don't. We have that mentality, and so we don't have a good
right.
habit, or we don't have those good thoughts around when money comes in. Let me take a little bit and do something with it. So we, and sometimes that goes behind just the habits of how we grew up, as well as
Right,
especially if you're making more money, lifestyle creep or whatnot.
right,
But like that's one of the things that I get a lot too is, well, how can you, how can I start with my kids? I don't have a whole lot of money, right? Like
right.
so, like what are some principles and things you can use to do if you don't have a whole lot of money? And a lot of times people, they don't want to start where they are, right? Like one of the things I tell people to do is to start investing with $5. That's not a lot
Hmm.
of money. It's not, but it's the habit, the consistency, and the mindset that you build. Eventually, you start doing 10.
Exactly,
Eventually, you get them
exactly,
taxes and be like, I'm gonna do 500, right? Because you're building that muscle. It's just
right.
like doing push-ups. You only do one, but if you keep doing that one, you can then do two. Like, so what are
That's
some
exactly
some tips you might have for people who may say, I don't really have a whole lot of money, so how can
right.
I help to set my kids up financially? What things can I do? How can I invest?
Yes, exactly the same thing that you just mentioned. Just you start where you are. Like, say you may not have a lot of money. Start off. If you can only, people often say do 10%. Maybe you can only do $10, right? Maybe you could do five. Maybe you can only do $1. You know, but just to create that habit. Um, And I think nowadays, like I said, with all the different apps, we speak about investing. A lot of apps you could purchase partial shares. We don't need a whole lot of money just to kind of get started. You could buy $5 worth of Nike or $5 worth of Apple. And that's kind of get started. But the key is again just to kind of build that muscle memory to build a habit. Because again, if you start at $5, then when you come into a lump sum of money, then you'll do a little bit more because you've already created that mindset, that habit to put something away and start saving again, and just expose it to the children. That way they learn and they learn early. So
Right.
definitely, there again, it's just start where you are. You don't have to
Right.
overthink it. Just you start small, then eventually it'll grow over time.
Right. Absolutely. That's how I
Yeah.
started investing. Um,
Hmm.
I remember my first investment account was a company called Share Builder. And what
Yeah.
made it great was that Share Builder allowed you to put $10. Now you had to pay like
Hmm.
$6, $7 fees on that $10, but it was
Yep.
something. My first investment was $30. My next one was $100. I remember it
Hmm.
like it was yesterday because it's 2022. This happened back in like a good 16 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
17 years ago. And so sometimes people miss that aspect because when you talk about financial literacy, they always think that, or like taking care of your money. Or it's like, well, I want to spend some of my money. Well, nobody told you that you had to put all of your money away. It's just
Right.
creating different habits. Like one of the biggest lessons that I know, if I wish we had known growing up, was the power of taking $50 to $100 each month and just putting it in the right fund and just
Yeah.
being consistent. Like
Yeah.
20, 30 years, it produces hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, depending on, what that fund is and the market itself. But just something so small creates something so huge. And so that's
Yeah.
something that I think a lot of times people miss, like you said, like just being okay with just starting where you are, and you don't have to have a whole lot of money. And that's one of the
Yeah.
things that holds people back is because they feel like they don't have a whole lot of money. And it's like it's a
Hmm.
lot you can do with $1. I mean, like
Yeah.
I got like fake money around here that I be using sometimes
Right.
for stuff. Like we got hey, this is not real money, guys. Not real money.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we're able to use stuff like that, like to play with it, right? Like we
Hmm.
have the Monopoly games,
Right.
stuff like that, and of course, it's never just a regular Monopoly game.
Right.
We you sure you want to buy this? Like you got it, like it's a whole conversation. So um
Yeah.
which sometimes the kids get a little heated around, them transactions, but
Right.
but that thought, and just planting those seeds. And as they get
Yeah.
older, they start to be more adapt. And the more
Right.
that they're more adapt, and that's one of the things about wealth I think a lot of times people miss is wealth is just not what you pass down like physically, but it's also what you pass
Right.
down so you can continue to do that. Right.
Right.
So
The
like
mental
folks,
wealth.
exactly. Right.
Mental wealth.
Right. So if you had to pinpoint like three things to teach your
Hmm.
kids like that you believe would set them up for life, like what would they be?
Right. So I guess kind of touch on what you spoke about the rule of 72. Right. Understanding the power of compound interest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 'Cause oftentimes when we speak about interest, we think about it on the opposite end when we owe somebody else some money and we have to pay that money back with interest. But what about having interest that works to your advantage? Understanding that looking at the rate of inflation versus interest rates. Like if you just put your money in a savings account and looking at how much money you're earning on that savings account, you're kind of falling behind the eight ball. But when you understand, how the role interest rates play, then you say, what, I need to be ahead of that rate of inflation for me to make some money, for my money to really grow. And then you're not just putting your money in a savings account, you're looking at other ways to invest to kind of stay ahead of the game. So definitely the rule of 72, the power of compound interest, um, understanding interest rates and the role that they play. Also understanding the difference between a debt and a liability. Or a lot of times, we come into lump sums of money, we're buying things that aren't going to appreciate in value, or we're putting our money in places where it's not going to appreciate. We look at material things, and we just want to buy materials. Like, okay, stop. Come out of the mindset of being a consumer, be a producer. be an investor. That's a different mindset. Not to say you can't buy anything, but watch and pay attention to what you buy and making sure that you keep that balance. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having certain things, but make sure you're putting your money in other places as well. Another thing I would say is again just the power of discipline. You know, the role discipline plays in finance. Taking that emotional aspect of out of the out of your purchases, and just sometimes just using logic to say, okay, this what's the goals I'm trying to achieve? Where do I want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? And what sacrifice am I willing to make today for me to get there?
That's what's up, man. That's dope. Like
Yeah.
I love it. Like that, especially like you talking about that discipline thing. You know,
Oh yeah.
we are, I guess the way society does, it calls us to
Hmm.
spend money the way we do. You know,
Yeah.
like they told we were told what wealth was, right? Like
Hmm.
it may seem funny to some people, but right now the people who have been winning the most are the people that may live in like a double wide trailer on 5 acres, and their monthly expenditures are $600 a month. They pay $700 a month, and they're fine, and they don't
Hmm.
have the extra stuff pulling at them. And some people, some people would look down on stuff like that, but no, they're winning right now. They
Yep.
inflation ain't bothering them really too much. They got enough land to build, to farm, to do whatever they want to do on there to be more self sufficient, even not just food, but energy wise, things like that. So sometimes those things, as we, especially because of social media, there's this need to look a certain way and to buy this and and buy that, and you got to have discipline, to know like, well, especially when you start making more money, it don't mean you need to
Hmm.
spend all that money. Maybe take
Right.
an extra couple hundred or something, and make yourself feel good, but watch that, and discipline is huge. I know a lot of people, people laugh at me when I be talking about like y'all buying Louis and Vuitton in them too much. Like, but why did you even buy it? Why would you buy Balenciaga? Why would you buy
Right.
Gucci? You don't buy it because, man, this is a great product. I heard it last 20 years. That's not why you buy it. You buy it
Right.
because of the social status imagery that has been fed to you. Like, oh, look at the Louis, look at the Gucci, look at and those things haven't done anything but made them people rich and made our people broke. And
Yeah.
you just got material stuff. So,
It's funny. Years ago I used to work at Dick's Sporting Goods,
mm,
and I used to work in the sneaker department. And looked at how people who came in who were like into running, into shoes, how they bought sneakers versus the way that our community purchased sneakers,
right,
right? So you would like working at Dick's, they'll come in, they'll look at the Asics, they'll look at the Sauconys. Okay, what's the tread life on these shoes? Do they pronate, hyperpronate, this pronate, and just they want to know the specs on the
mm-hmm,
shoe, right? And they're paying about 150 $200 for the shoe, but they want to know how long the shoe is going to last them,
right,
right? They don't care about the look, and it's not the most fashionable thing. They want to know, okay, I'm gonna spend $200 on this shoe. How long is it going to last me?
right,
Versus, other communities, they're like, okay, how does it look? Are these
right.
Jordan ones, or is this? Does it go with my fit? All this other stuff. I'm like, wow. It's just the again, just learning how to spend your money and
Mm.
being educated on how you spend it as well.
No, that's a good analogy because I buy Brooks running
Yeah.
shoes. Listen,
Hmm.
I got more than one pair. That's all I'm gonna say. I got, and it feels great on the
Yeah.
feet to the point. It's sometimes I wear it I wear one of them every day because it just feels great. But
Yeah.
but just like you're saying, it really works. So I know, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a Brooks running guy. So I get.
Yeah. When you reach a certain age, it's not about how it looks or how it feels.
Mm-mm.
You gotta be comfortable. Your feet gotta be comfortable when you walk around these
Oh
shoes.
yeah, oh yeah. Especially you get older, you got stress. But no, but it's funny. So like I went through the culture shock. You probably
Hmm.
experienced too. Growing up in the hood,
Hmm.
you got money, how you got money. And
Right.
you went and when you bought clothes, like the popular stuff when I was growing up was Nautica, Tommy Hilfiger, right? Like
Hmm.
chaps, right? Clothing, like the clothing, right? And then the shoes, uh, the Jordan craze wasn't like it was back then,
Right.
but getting the new Jordan come out, getting the new Fila, getting the new Flaves or Force Ones, if some of y'all
Yeah.
don't know what that is, the Air Force Ones, um, getting the newest color coming out, things like that, having the slouch
Right.
socks, like you would keep yourself. You want to because if you went to school and you didn't have it, and how in our culture we grew up, like, oh no, you if you weren't strong at cracking or what they call roasting nowadays, like
Yeah.
if you weren't strong at that, you coming home wounded. So like, because they coming
Yeah.
at you like, oh, like what are those? What are those? Like, man,
Yeah.
that was something we went through. And I
Hmm.
remember when I started to have the change of mindset, I was coming out of high school and going to college, and I was watching, white kids driving Lexuses to school, wearing Vans and the same khaki shorts almost every single day with a button-up
Hmm.
shirt. And I remember no one ever even batted an eye or even looked at the new flaves that I had on my feet. Right?
Right.
Nobody saw the coordination of the fit. Nobody was like,
Right.
"Oh, yo!" Like, nobody paid attention to it, and
Right.
that started to change my mind. Like, dang, dog, like nobody's even paying attention to none of this stuff. And
Right.
once you start understanding, and don't get me wrong, of course, you don't want to wear stuff that's dingy or crazy. So look good,
Hmm.
hey, but looking good doesn't have to cost you your whole paycheck. And once I
Exactly.
started getting that, I started getting lenient on just how, you know, I look at those things because I was a sneakerhead too. Like I was, listen, everybody getting this pair of flays, cool, y'all go ahead.
Right.
They always had another one
Hmm.
come out, but everybody just spent their money on that one. That's the one I got. Like I
Right.
made smart moves, but you get older, you start saying like people don't really name brand isn't what it used to be,
Right.
but if you're letting those things of wealth and imagery filter your head, you'll think that that's what it is, and it's like it's not even like that. Like most of the stuff I wear now are like there's something new or like from a friend's line or from shirts that we
Hmm.
made or something like that that's different, but it's not. There's no big company logo on it and all that stuff. So which
Right.
is which is
Right.
which those things plague our community a lot because we like to be seen. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
so like,
Yeah.
but even with that, like as things are starting to change, I know we were talking about, of course, before the show, like just how the scope of technology and things
Right.
are changing. We don't live in that time anymore. Like it used to be, go to school, be a lawyer, be a
Hmm.
doctor, you want to be those things, but now
Right.
being a doctor is at competition with being a social media TikToker or a content creator. Like people
Right.
talk about that the same way, but then you see people online making more money than the people who went to school for 10 years. Like, so things
Right.
have started to change, and with that, I even notice it even with my own kids. But like
Hmm.
kids in their perception, like they say we're in the great resignation now where people they
Right.
don't want to sit in the office and feel belittled or just be they want to be a part of something where they feel like they have more freedom or
Yeah.
it caters to their wants and their needs, and so those things are changing. So like I know
Hmm.
you're probably you see that with your kids a little bit and their thoughts around what they may want to do. Like what are some
Hmm.
ways? Because I don't believe that, and this is my belief. I don't believe that we fight against the changes that our kids are seeing. I think we've helped them
Hmm.
navigate it. Like
Right.
so what are some things or ways that you have that you've helped to encourage your kids in the world changing, especially in that business sector and finance sector.
Yeah. So, like I said, so you see a lot of kids like straying away from the educational routes, and I think back like to when I was a kid, and some of my peers, at the time when we were coming up, cats wanted to be rappers, and your parents were like, "That's not a real career." But like some of my friends of mine, they went on like when we got into college, they came out with an independent record, and I helped promote it and stuff like that, help book shows. But then now fast forward 10, 20 years later, those same guys, accountants, lawyers, technicians, right? But they started off wanting to be entertainers, So we have to kind of embrace it and let the children go on their journey, right? Because we never know where that journey is going to lead them, right? So we can't like just shut it down and say, okay, well, we're not going to do this, not going to do that, because that's not going to pan out to anything. Just let them go on that journey and let it
Right.
evolve to what it's going to become, because you never know where it's going to go. Because as we mentioned before, I think before we got on, we were talking about the technology and how there has to be a mindset shift, because the
Mm-hmm.
world of the past is not going to be the world of the future,
Right.
right? We spoke about the automated McDonald's. So instead of trying to be Calvin, that frontline worker at McDonald's, you got to kind of say, well, if it's going to be replaced by robots, so then instead of me wanting to be that cashier, maybe I need to understand how to program that robot,
Right. Right.
right? And then now we see another evolution taking place where, with the coding and stuff like that, we have other technology that can create code, that's going to replace a human. Now you got to kind of reposition. So, okay, well, it's something else taking place. So if we have that same mindset as the past, even with healthcare, like you talk about doctors and lawyers, thinking
Mm-hmm.
about doctors, they have robots. Like, where the doctor doesn't even have to be in front of you to treat you. They have robots that come in and do different things that perform surgeries for the doctors. So then the whole image of what a doctor does is going to change as well.
Right.
So either we have to embrace it and keep up with the technology and see where it's going, or we're going to be left behind. And if we have that, I hate to say dinosaur type thinking, but if we keep that old mentality, then our kids are going to still be left so far behind.
No, no, that's true. Like, so if we know certain things don't work, it's funny how we continue to still teach it. Like
Oh
we
yeah,
know,
tradition,
right?
tradition.
It's traditional because that's what you're supposed to do, and a lot of
Mhm.
those systems have frustrated us as adults and our
Right.
generations before, right? And but yet we still, well, yeah, you got to go through it. Like, well, I don't know, I don't want to lead my kids into frustration. And this isn't a
Right.
knock against the college system or anything, but I mean, for one, it's too expensive to be paying for school like that. I don't even want to hear why. But but nowadays we don't live in a time where like just going to a four-year college is the only track to go down. Like that's
Oh
just
yeah.
not it. Just like you're talking about, like, man, like people who are electricians, plumbers, HVAC, like all these different mechanics, all these different roads you can go down. Even in the tech and IT and stuff like that, you don't have to go to a 4-year school. Like there's so many different roads now. There's
Hmm.
options, more
Right.
options, 10 times more options to do things where you can make a sustainable living and be successful than it was when I was coming up. Like I'm not making myself that old. We ain't that old yet,
Right.
but like we
No, no, we're not.
not
We're
at
not.
all. But like just the options have changed drastically. Like I know
Yeah.
I've shared before, like my daughter, she's interested in wanting to, do YouTube. And at first
Hmm.
my answer was no, and then I changed it. It was like, no, well, let's let her explore. Of course, we'll monitor the
Right.
parameters, but you never know, for example, like you're saying, what those things lead to. She's extremely creative. Like
Hmm.
I watched her make like little mini Chick-fil-A, like, you know, things for her Barbie dolls and stuff. Like she's extremely creative. So,
Right.
let her explore that, of course, with the parameters of supervision or whatnot. But you never know what it leads to. You got people like Mr.
Right.
Beast who started when he was a kid, and now he makes like $50 million plus a year from
Hmm.
YouTube alone, right? So like,
Yeah.
but you just never know. So as things change, as we see things change, and it's definitely important to like embrace that because the my way of the past is it might not always work for them in those certain instances. So yeah, I agree with you, man.
It's funny is that you speak about kids wanted to be like social media, icons and things of that sort. Like I have my Instagram channel, my Instagram page. I also have a YouTube channel, and having to put out content, you have to edit. Look at trends. You have to look at analytics, see what works, what doesn't work, and that's more. You're learning marketing, and you never went to school for
Hmm.
marketing.
Right.
Like I sit here, like I sit back and I gotta, post video, I gotta edit videos, use all these different apps, um, remove backgrounds, do this, do that. And I never went to school for editing.
Never went
It's
to
all
school.
hands on.
Yeah.
It's all hands on stuff. So in the same sense, the kid with young people doing it, they'll learn a certain skill set, you know, just thinking they're thinking, okay, I'm just gonna do this and have fun. At the same time, they're learning.
Right.
They're learning skills. They can like not that they went to school for it. They did it. They had the experience. I remember in the past, I've known people who never went to school for accounting, but they did accounting and had accounting jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? But never had an accounting degree. But they had the experience. So the same thing can happen with our young people as well. They'll have the experience to back them up for the role
Right.
that they'll take on in the
Right.
future.
Yeah, I just did a video about that too, where it's like you see all the people creating on TikTok and things like that, and all these edits and stuff. People will pay thousands for that. Like they
Exactly.
legitimately are learning a real skill that a company, corporation, or organization will say, "Can you do this for us, and we will pay you X amount of dollars." And
Yep.
some of them may not realize that, but but that's really what it is. Like video editing has become so much easier with these apps
Yep.
than what it was like 10, 15 years ago. But
Yep.
people, there's still so many people that don't do it that will pay for it. Like, and that's just like you're saying. Like my engineering job that I got when I used to work as an engineer, I
Hmm.
didn't even finish college. Like, I wasn't even done, and I mean I didn't finish because of it. Because like I got a job based off of the skill set of just knowing what to do, and
Hmm.
I beat out people who have been working for 10,
Yep.
15 years. So
Exactly. Exactly.
so it's something where I think where we learn to embrace it more versus
Hmm.
like fight against our kids with it because things are going to be
Yeah.
different. So you can't just
Hmm.
rip technology away from them or the changes because that's what's going to be, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
brother, man.
I tell young people all the time, I'm like, all the stuff you do with the TikTok, Instagram, you have, older people who have businesses that want to have that social media presence, but
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything about social media.
Yep,
This young person, this young 13, 14, 15-year-old can step in and be a social media manager for a corporation or company
absolutely.
and and make a decent amount of money doing so.
Absolutely, absolutely. And those average salaries are not to sneeze at. It ain't $20, $30. Those average salaries are six figures. Yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
Being especially
Exactly.
helping these companies get connected, that it is.
Mm.
And then you
Yep.
couple that with our people, our younger people having more access to do things financially, they could set themselves up for a world of success. They don't have to go through 10 years of struggling to get to like they'll learn their lessons. I know people try to say that's the way you learn lessons, but you don't have to learn lessons just like that. But they'll
Hmm.
learn their lessons, but they could have more of a longer life of having those successes, setting up the next generations, being able to do as they need to do, and not just being, tossed through and fro because you got bills. So
Yep.
no, that's dope, man. But yeah, brother, yeah, I appreciate you being on the show, man. But listen,
Thank you.
let the people know what is going on in your world, like what you got going on. How can they connect with you? Like what's up next for Dr. Phillip?
Yeah, so check this out. So right now, like I said, we have the Malik's First Job Financial Principles for Teens. It's out now. You can get it on Amazon from our website, maliksfirstjob.com. Right now, currently working on the second book. It's going to be in the same series, the Malik's First Job series. This one we're going to focus in on investing. Hopefully this year be a third book that's going to focus in on credit. I think that's something else that our young people need to have a good understanding on is how credit works. Um, so we have those coming out. Of course, I have my podcast, the Malik's First Job podcast. You can catch it on YouTube or your favorite podcast platforms. And then I have a whole bunch of other things coming out as well. So just stay tuned.
Awesome, man. And everything he's saying, I will put in the description so you can just click on it and check it out and support the brother.
Yes,
So,
sir.
as
Appreciate you,
always,
man.
brother, it's great to chat with you, and I'll be
Yes.
seeing you around, man.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right, thank you, bro. All right,
All
everybody,
right.
we'll
Take
see you
care.
on the next video, man. Peace.
All right. Peace.